Hello everyone, welcome to another round of Tuesday Night Legacy presented by Spellhold Games. My name is Eugene and I will be your commentator for this round 3 from February 22nd. On the left we have Alan piloting his blue-red Delver deck. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Alan is actually undefeated in every video that he has been featured in so far, and we'll see if that changes today with Matt being on Bant Stoneblade on the right here. The Bant Stoneblade deck pretty well positioned against the blue-red Delver deck. It's got the counter spells, it's got removal for things like the Murktide Regent, and it's got Uro to back it up, just that super powerhouse of a legacy card. So we will see how this match goes right now. Matt's starting on the play here. Going to start with a Prismatic Vista, getting a basic land. Looks like it's going to be a plane since his first play is an Esper Sentinel. This is a card maybe a little bit like Rhystic Studies, so whenever the opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, you get to draw a card unless they pay X, where X is Esper Sentinel's power, and Esper Sentinel's power is usually 1, so usually it just costs 1 extra to draw the card. So there it is. The turn 1 Ponder is going to get Matt an extra card off of the Esper Sentinel. And Alan says, that's fine. I really do want to see the top 3 cards of my library. I don't have much else going on. So, does like them. Going to keep the 3 on top, draw a card. We're going to see Flooded Strand from Matt. Gosh, you know, there are just so many fetch lands in Legacy. It is constant. And there's a reason for that, since you can get things like dual lands off of the fetch lands. So Flood Strand gets a Tropical Island. That's going to land a Noble Hierarch, which is going to be a little bit of mana ramp, and it's also going to be some extra damage. So that Exalted trigger will go off on the Esper Sentinel, making it a 2/2 until end of turn. On Alan's side, he lays down some pretty big threats. Got that Delver of Secrets and the Dragon's Rage Channeler. Dragon's Rage, very, very good card. Has that Surveil trigger every time that you cast a non-creature spell, and then it can just get +2/+2 in flying if you have Delirium in the grave. But Prismatic Ending is going to say no thanks to that. I'd like to get that out of there for 1 white mana. Since it only has a CMC of 1, it only costs the 1, what is that, Converge? Yeah, 1 white, or 1 mana type. There it is. And that's going to get the DRC out of there. The Delver of Secrets attacks here. I think that's a missed trigger on the Esper Sentinel. I feel like he just pointed to it and said no, but I didn't see Matt draw a card, so I'm not entirely certain what happened there. But, you know, sometimes we make accidental mistakes. It's not the end of the world. So another Delver of Secrets coming down. With that Ponder, I'm pretty sure that the top of Alan's deck is going to be an instant or sorcery. I'm going to catch a Swords to Plowshares from Matt before going to his turn. 4 lands, 2 green, a blue, and a white. 2 damage in with the Esper Sentinel. Looks like this is going to be, a True Name Nemesis. True Name Nemesis coming down, naming the opposite player. This was, I think, originally meant for Commander play, where you would have multiple opponents. But because Commander cards are legal in Legacy, it becomes a completely unanswerable with targeted spells or combat damage creature, a 3/1. Basically just says, come down, and I have protection from you. The only answers for a True Name Nemesis are things like Board Wipe or permanent static changes to the board, saying like all creatures get -1/-1, something of that nature. You could play a Plague Engineer and name Merfolk or Rogue. That would get it. Give -1/-1, bringing its toughness down to 0. Looks like that was a Wasteland, getting one of the green sources that Matt has. And we're going to play a Teferi Time Raveler. I'm not certain this one resolves. Looks like there's a Force of Negation. Yep, so that's going to exile the Teferi. He's going to draw a card for the Esper Sentinel. Teferi put into the graveyard. It should be in exile, but I don't believe it's going to matter this game all that much. Force Negation does have the extra text that if the spell is countered, it is put into the exile, not into the grave. A big boy Murktide Regent coming down here, a 7/7, exiling 4 instants or sorceries for just 2 mana. Such a good card. Oh, do you want a 2 mana or a 7 mana? No, a 2 mana 7/7 with flying? Oh, that'd be great. Thanks. All right, going back to Matt's turn. 3 mana is going to get us Uro, the Titan's Wrath. Oh, the Murktide Regent. If anybody wanted to look at it really quick here. The other cool thing about Murktide Regent is if you cast multiples of them, you can get even more counters on your original Murktide Regent, because that's a static effect of the exiling stuff from the yard. But Uro, one of our favorites here in Legacy, the 6/6 for 3 mana, enters the battlefield, dies, but you get an excellent trigger of gaining 3 life, drawing a card, and getting an extra land drop. And then it does have to go to the graveyard, but you can cast it again for 4 mana from the grave and get it all over again. So we're a little behind on the action here. So we see an Unholy Heat might be coming down. So with 2 Noble Hierarch triggers, Matt has lethal on board with the True Name Nemesis, but before he goes to combat, the Unholy Heat is going to kill one of those nobles, which is going to make it so that that True Name Nemesis only deals 4 damage, bringing Alan only to 1, and presenting, I believe that's 10 damage on Alan's side. Matt is in a little trouble here. So that's 4 mana. Now, he did use that Teferi as a part of the exile cost for Uro, but he had a lot of other cards in the graveyard, so it didn't truly alter the board state that much. So don't worry about it, chat. Or comment section, I guess. We don't have a chat yet. Might have a chat in the future. Well, it's just my little speaker turning off. Sorry about that. So we see Uro come in, a Brainstorm. I think Matt is looking for a Swords to Plowshares. That's pretty much the only thing that saves him here. He lets him go to turn to untap. And that's game. No swords. So we will go to game 2 here. Sideboard's all set. And Matt is going to have the start. Planes go into Delver turn 1. Pretty good. We're going to see a Stoneforge Mystic attempt to resolve here on Matt's side. Just he must have some sort of... Nope, no backup there. So a Daze is going to catch the Stoneforge Mystic. And we're going to see a Pyroblast off of the top of the library for Alan, which is going to change his Delver into a 3/2 flyer. So Alan in a pretty prime position here. Dragon's Rage Chandler and Delver of Secrets already online. Turn 2. I'm going to see an Uro trigger. Going to go to the grave, draw that card, probably play an extra land. 3 mana. Man, this guy is just an explorer with gain some life, and you can do it later. That's so good. I guess that's why there's so many decks at our store that are kind of Uro based in general, or if they're playing blue and green, there's no reason not to play Uro. One of those classically good cards. Just, oh yeah, you're playing this? You should put it in there. See a Brainstorm. Thinking about it. Maybe there's going to be a response. The Pyroblast. Pyroblast gets the Surveil trigger. Alan already likes the top of his library. I'm not sure that the Brainstorm is not completely resolved yet. Okay. All right, so we see a Swords for the Dragon's Rage. Going to gain him 1 life. Fetch down to 14. So, unaided, the Delver can end the game in 5 turns, I believe. That's quite a long time, but, you know, Matt is already only down to 2 cards. He does have an Uro in the grave, but he needs... actually, that'll do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. So, 2 islands, a forest, and a plains. He needs 1 more green mana source, and that Misty Rainforest might do it. So we do see Teferi Time Raveler come down here. So not seen super often in Legacy, but still an amazingly powerful card. Basically says that you can't interact with me at instant speed anymore, which is pretty devastating to the Delver deck. And you can make it so your sorceries have flash. Unfortunately, it is going to catch a lightning bolt. When it does tick down, even though it starts at 4, it ticks down for 3 to bounce a thing back to its owner's hand. You do get to draw a card, but it becomes very vulnerable, especially if you don't have any way to interact with your opponent's spells. So no force of will or anything there, or daze for the lightning bolt. Teferi is going to catch it and unfortunately beef it. We see a Noble Hierarch come down. The Delver Secrets on Alan's side comes back down and is already turned into the Insectile Aberration. We see Alan resolving a expressive iteration here. 1 card to hand, 1 to exile, 1 to the bottom of the library. So doesn't look like he wants to resolve that that Dragon's Rage Channeler. Didn't have the extra mana. You know, it is amazing how well Alan's deck operates off of 2 volcanic islands. I've seen this so many games now where it's just 2 volcanic islands and he's able to do 2 to 3 effects per turn, even though he only has that 2 mana. It is pretty impressive. We see Uro come down, gain some life, and he is now in play. So every time that he attacks, he also gets that Explore plus gain 3 life trigger on top of entering the battlefield. We see Delver attack, and we see a Murktide come down. How many counters is that? It's another 7/7. So this is pretty much the same board state we saw last game. 10 damage in the air each turn. We see Uro attack. I don't know if we're in combat. It is going to be a 7/7. Yep. So he's going to gain 3 life for attacking. Noble Hierarch trigger. And we are going to see a Submerge cast for free. If your opponent controls a forest, which Matt does, and you control an island, which Alan does, you may cast this for free. Put target creature on top of its owner's library. The amount of tempo swing putting that Uro back on top is just tremendous. And the fact that Matt goes for the Stoneforge here now. He has shuffled away the Uro and gets a Cauldron Complete for his troubles. But at that point, you know, you spend so many resources getting Uro into play, and to have it just basically not even put back in your hand, but put on top of your library so you know exactly what your next draw is, too. It's almost like losing an entire turn that way, as far as card advantage is concerned. It was a huge play. We see a Swords to Plowshares attempt on this attack. Oh, but he... that's interesting. Maybe he didn't Swords? He exiled the Swords? I'm not entirely certain what happened there. I thought that Swords... in any case, 10 damage from Alan's side. And now he's presenting lethal to Matt in quite a few ways. We know he has Cauldron Complete, but with Alan being at 18, I do not believe the race... He's going to win the race here. He's going to have to deal with both, at least... Well, he's going to have to deal with the Insectile Aberration and the Murktide, and then hope that Ponder doesn't flip the Delver of Secrets. So he's got enough mana to do all these things. Now he's down to 2. But I'm not sure. If he pays 2 mana for the Cauldron, he's going to have 4 mana available. And I think he has 3 cards in hand, one of them being Cauldron. So he's going to have both two pieces of removal and Cauldron in order for him to survive Alan's next turn. See a blue mana getting tapped. It's going to be a Ponder. 3 cards. Salvation. We'll see. Nope, that's a shuffle. So, Matt not in the best place right now. Kind of just spinning his wheels. Hoping for the best. Card to the grave. Did he just pass her? 3 mana is going to get an Uro. So that's going to gain him 3 life, up to 5. Not quite enough, even if he's still going to have to deal with at least the Insectile and the Murktide. He's running out of mana here pretty quick. Okay, Cauldron coming down. He's got 1 white mana available. Prismatic Ending is going to answer 1 Delver of Secrets, but that Murktide Regent is going to end the game here. We see a Brainstorm on upkeep to make sure that Delver of Secrets is going to flip. We see another Brainstorm on top. So 10 more damage present, and that's going to be it. All right. Thank you for joining us in round 3, and we'll see you soon in round 4. Please like and subscribe the channel if you haven't already. It really helps boost our numbers. Thanks for watching.